Today we will be talking about a fantasy drama film called Millennium Actress. Director Genya Tachibana is working on a documentary about the famous actress Chiyoko Fujiwara. Quake strikes as Tachibana is watching one of Chiyoko's movies. Tachibana's cameraman, Kyoji, asks why they're going to her house, and Tachibana responds that Chiyoko withdrew from the public eye at the peak of her career. He and Kyoji enter Chiyoko's house. Tachibana blushes as soon as he sees Chiyoko, who is now elderly and frail. And Tachibana hands her a key, which she says surprises her because she never expected to find it. Then there is a minor aftershock. Chiyoko decides to start her story before the next earthquake happens. Chiyoko explains that her father died in the 1923 Great Kanto earthquake. Because of the shop he left behind, Chiyoko and her mother were able to live comfortably, but the country then descended into fascism, and the military took control. Chiyoko was in middle school when a Ginei Studios movie director noticed her and decided to bring her and her mother in for an audition. Despite Chiyoko's suggestions, her mother refuses to appear in a film for soldiers fighting in China. At this point, Tachibana and Kyoji are both drawn into her memories. Chiyoko walks away, colliding into a man fleeing from the police. He bolts into the park just as the police chief arrives and starts asking if she saw a man carrying a suitcase. When Chiyoko notices blood on the ground, she quickly covers it with snow and points in a different direction. Chiyoko then tends to the injured man before concealing him in the back of her shop. He tells her that he is an artist who wishes for a better future for Japan and that he would like to reveal his secret to Chiyoko. She eventually falls in love with him. The man is discovered the next morning and is forced to flee once more. Chiyoko learns of this from an employee who assisted him in escaping, and when she notices that the man has left the key to his suitcase behind, she rushes to the train station. When she arrives, she sees the man boarding a train and chases after him. But she slips and misses the train. Tachibana realizes that this is what drove Chiyoko to pursue a career in acting in the hopes of meeting the man. In her first film, she meets the bitter Eiko Shirmao and Junichi Otaki, the handsome director's son. While on the set of another film, Eiko mentions a fortune teller who can help her find the man she is desperate to find. The fortune teller tells her that the man is in northern Manchuria, so she boards a train there. The train is suddenly attacked by bandits, and Chiyoko flees. The scene changes as Chiyoko is portrayed as a princess who is about to commit suicide. A ghostly woman appears with a spindle wheel and tricks her into thinking she can enter the next world. Tachibana rushes in and saves Chiyoko, telling her that he is a marshal and will accompany her home. The next movie memory is set with Chiyoko as a traveler on a dirt path, and she comes across a group of men, taking a prisoner. She attacks the group and helps the prisoner, thinking it is the nameless man, but it is actually Eiko. Eiko's men have the upper hand in the fight between the two till Tachibana arrives, disguised as a traveling swordsman. Tachibana tells her to leave, but Eiko pursues her and the two continue to fight. Chiyoko gains the upper hand, threatening to kill Eiko if she does not reveal the location of her lover. Eiko informs her that he has arrived in Kyoto, and she vanishes in a cloud of smoke. The scene changes once again as Chiyoko is a geisha begging for mercy from Eiko, who is also a geisha, and punishes Chiyoko for leaving the Okiya and for paying a visit to a prisoner who is about to be executed. Tachibana helps her escape and she flees to the jailhouse where rebels of the government escaped and runs into the nameless man, who recognizes her, but flees again and informs Chiyoko to keep the key till they meet again. Soon after, Chiyoko is approached by the police chief, who asks if she saw a rebel, but he recognizes her and threatens to harm her. Tachibana then appears and rescues Chiyoko again by offering her his horse, and she flees to the countryside. Chiyoko is caught by the police chief and is thrown in jail, along with Eiko. Chiyoko refuses to speak about the man she loves, but Eiko claims that men's feelings change. Tachibana, her lord and savior throughout this memory story, shows up once more and bails Chiyoko out with a large sum of money. To Chiyoko's surprise, the police chief claims that they have apprehended the artist. She chases the man through a long tunnel, but the scene shifts to the World War II bombing of Tokyo. Chiyoko returns to her hometown after the bombings, only to discover that it has also been bombed. She finds her shop, which has been completely destroyed, and looks around for something. Then, in the sunlight, there is a picture of Chiyoko as a school student. She is happy, but she collapses suddenly. In the present, the elderly. Chiyoko has collapsed, but is eager to finish and continue her story. Chiyoko says that she and the movie studio staff did everything they could to survive after Japan surrendered, but the prospect of making good movies kept them going. It was the peak of Chiyoko's acting career in the 1950s, and she kept going in the hopes of finding the man. Chiyoko comes to a halt when she realizes Tachibana worked at Genya Studios in a minor role. At one point, Okadi falls in love with Chiyoko, but she never reciprocates. Chiyoko misplaces the key on set one day, and the crew goes on the hunt for it. Chiyoko abandons her search and later marries Okadi. Later on, the key is then discovered by Chiyoko, where it was hidden on a set, and Eiko confronts her. It turns out that Eiko took it out of jealousy. She explains that Eiko has been trying to get rid of Chiyoko since she began acting. The young Tachibana interrupts, stating that Chiyoko has a visitor, the now elderly police chief. She tells him to leave, but he offers her a letter from the artist in which Hokkaido is mentioned. Chiyoko believes the artist is in Hokkaido and uses every mode of transportation available to her. However, there are obstacles in her path, which she overcomes. She comes across a painting and notices the man walking away from her. She declares that she will keep looking for him. Fast forward later, an earthquake strikes during the filming of a science fiction film, and Chiyoko is nearly killed. Young Tachibana shields Chiyoko from falling debris and she thanks him. The elderly woman then appears in Chiyoko's reflection, and she flees, leaving the key behind. Tachibana accepts it for safekeeping and promises to return it to her someday. According to the elderly Chiyoko, she quit acting and went into hiding on that day. Tachibana inquires as to why she made that decision. She pulls out her photograph of when she was a school student and says she realized she wasn't the young girl the artist remembered. Chiyoko collapses just as an earthquake strikes, and Tachibana protects her from falling debris. Chiyoko is driven to the hospital, followed by the two men. Tachibana tells Kyoji about an elderly police chief who paid a visit to him, and tells him that the artist Chiyoko was looking for was tortured to death, without Chiyoko's knowledge. Tachibana and Kyoji are informed at the hospital that Chiyoko's time on Earth is coming to an end. They apologize for inquiring too much about her life, but Chiyoko says she enjoyed every minute of it and appreciates their efforts to find her. She then dies, and the scene shifts to a young Chiyoko preparing to take off in a space shuttle. Chiyoko declares that once the ship has left the moon, she will continue her search for the man she loves in the next world. Thanks for watching.